Okay, chicos, in this video we're going to talk about the differences between the two past tenses, the preterite and the imperfect. I'll show you some acronyms to help you remember when to use each one, and we'll do a little bit of practice. First, let's start with the preterite. This is the first past tense that you learned first, and basically it has a definite beginning and ending. Okay, you know exactly when it happened. It's kind of like a block of time, if you will. So like if I were to say, trabajamos la semana pasada, which means we worked last week, we know that it began last week, and we know that it ended last week. So that is considered a block of time, that week. If you can pinpoint that the action took place in a block of time, you're going to use the preterite. Like, yesterday we watched Netflix. You know that it started yesterday and it ended yesterday. So if you can get those definite beginning and endings onto the action, you know it's going to be preterite. We also use the preterite for sequences of events. Primero me desperté, después me levanté, y entonces salí para la escuela. First I woke up, then I got up, and then I left for school. This scenario has three things happening, and they're actions that took place in a sequence, one after the other. In those scenarios, you're going to use preterite for each action in that sequence of events. Okay, so we use preterite for sequence of events. Interrupting actions. Actions that interrupt another action in the past will be employed through the use of the preterite. So if we were to look at this example, cuando estudiaba, ella gritó. When she was studying, she screamed. Or when he was studying, she screamed. Okay, so the background action here is he was studying. And then the interrupting action is she screamed. Okay, so this action kind of interrupts the ongoing or the background action. So those interrupting actions will be in preterite tense. Okay, the background actions will be in the imperfect. And then finally, if an action is completed, it's like it happened once, it's over and done with, it's going to be preterite. So, comí dos enchiladas, arroz y frijoles. I ate 2 enchiladas, rice and beans. Then you can pretty much surmise that that happened once. So, whenever it happened once, it'll typically be in the preterite. So, the acronym to help us remember when to use the preterite is BSIC. B is for block of time, S is for sequence of events, I is for interrupting actions, and C is for completed actions. All right, the imperfect is a little bit more in depth. The imperfect is something that you used to do, or that you were doing, or that you would do, and it has an unclear beginning or ending. We know it happened in the past, but we don't know when it started and ended. Okay, the beginning and the ending of the action is unclear. So I'm going to take you through this this weird acronym, which is Death Cow. I made that one up. And let's just go through each use of the imperfect. First of all, description. Whenever you're describing something in the past, you're going to use imperfect. Se llamaba Juan. Era un chico alto y fuerte. His name was Juan. He was a tall, strong boy. Okay, so you're describing Juan, and whenever you, in this example, and whenever you describe anything in the past, you use the imperfect. Emotion. El bebé estaba impaciente porque tenía mucha hambre. The baby was impatient because he was very hungry. So here, you're using emotion like, estaba feliz, I was happy. Ellos estaban tristes, they were sad. Whenever you talk about emotions, use the imperfect tense. Age, whenever you're talking about how old somebody is in the past, you use the imperfect. Él tenía 15 años, he was 15 years old. Time, whenever you're telling time in the past, use the imperfect. Eran las 2:15 de la mañana. It was 2:15 in the morning. Habitual actions, continuous actions, ongoing actions, kind of all are related. Whenever you have a repeated action, something that happens more than once, or if it's happening in progress, you're going to use the imperfect. Siempre íbamos a la iglesia cada semana. We always would go to church every week. This happened over and over again. Jugábamos béisbol cada día. We played baseball every day. We were playing baseball every day. Ongoing actions that are simultaneous. Now this is a situation where you have two actions happening at the same time, and typically it's separated by the word or connected by the word mientras, which means while. So, hablábamos mientras tocaba la orquesta. We were talking while the orchestra was playing. So two actions happening simultaneously, you're going to use the imperfect for both of those. And then the W of death cow is for weather. Estaba nublado y hacía frío. It was cloudy and it was cold. Whenever you describe the weather in the past, you're going to use the imperfect. Now, so if you look at it as a whole, preterite is kind of like taking a picture of the past. It's like a photo. It's still, you know exactly when it happened and ended, whereas the imperfect is more like an ongoing movie. Okay. You can also look at it like the preterite is a point on the timeline, okay? It's just like a dot on the timeline, whereas the imperfect would be like the timeline itself as a whole. So let's look at this other acronym here, wet roads. This is another way to use, or another acronym to help you remember when to use the imperfect. I'm not going to go through all of them, but just real quick, W is for weather, E, emotions, T for time and dates, R for repeated actions, O for ongoing actions, A for age, D for description, and S for simultaneous actions. So that's another acronym. You may prefer that one to the previous one to help you remember when to use the imperfect.